what's wrong with Lugia, you may ask? It was a huge part in the second movie, being the master of the 3 legendary birds, guiding them away from their chaos, and saving the literal world. What's the problem with that? Well, the problem is that it was a movie. Legendary Pokemon, super cool, aren't they? Rare, powerful Pokemon you only see maybe once or twice in your entire journey. Your encounter with them may feel like you're up against a god, a primal being that's been around longer than you, your parents, and probably your grandparents as well. Sure, it may have just been a bunch of pixels back then, but in your mind it wasn't. No, this was it. This was near the end of your adventure, one of the final tests for a trainer about to become champion. Now, there's a lot of cool legendary Pokemon out there with very, very good lore. However, some of them are a bit questionable. In my opinion, a good legendary Pokemon needs to have importance in the region, importance in the story, fit with the region's theme, and all of that. Reshiram and Zekrom with the duality of Unova, Xerneas and Yveltal with the beauty of Kalos, you know, legendary Pokemon like that. Nowadays, Game Freak do really try to do all of this, but back in the day, it wasn't really as established as it is now. It wasn't even a thing until Gen 3 that legendaries started to become an important part of the story. Whether you like or dislike this approach, it doesn't really matter, but one legendary Pokemon always comes to mind when discussing good legendary Pokemon lore, and this one, it doesn't have it. I'm talking about Lugia, a fan-favorite Pokemon and the counterpart to Ho-Oh. Oh, and also the mascot of Pokemon Silver. Before I dive into this topic, let me make something clear. This is not hating on Lugia whatsoever. In fact, I think Lugia is a really good design. It looks cool, legendary, mystical. It was a big part of the second movie, which is probably my favorite movie. Ho-Oh is very involved with Johto. It has lore, it's connected to the legendary cats in the mainline games, and Lugia has not that. Again, not an attack on anyone's favorite Pokemon, just me saying, oh hey, you know this Pokemon Lugia? What if we made it even more awesome? So with that being said, let's fix Lugia! Okay, we're not going to be neutering Lugia yet. But what's wrong with Lugia, you may ask? It was a huge part in the second movie, being the master of the 3 legendary birds, guiding them away from their chaos, and saving the literal world. What's the problem with that? Well, the problem is that it was a movie. Now, Lugia, for those who didn't know, was actually designed for the movies by Takeshi Shudo, the writer of the original anime. In fact, he was actually surprised to see it in the games, which makes me wonder, like, did y'all even tell the man? Because if you're going to use his design and not tell him, that's a bit questionable, Game Freak. In terms of design, however, Lugia does make a really good counterpart to Ho-Oh. You know, they're both bird-like. Lugia is a bit more like a plesiosaur though, but it makes sense because it's aquatic. And their types counter each other perfectly as well. Fire and water, you know, classic stuff. Except, I guess it's more like fire and mind power. Yeah, can someone explain me why Lugia is not a water type? According to Morimoto Shigeki, someone who's been working on Pokemon for a long time, game designer, programming, and various other tasks. It's because the Psychic type at the time was seen as an all-powerful type, and naturally they wanted Lugia to fill that role, and I suppose that's also why it can talk in the movies. Guess it's kind of weird that Entei in the third movie can talk, but I guess since it was made by the Unknown, I guess it then counts. Only Psychic types being able to communicate with humans back then was pretty much the norm. And I guess that's also why there's so many Psychic legendary types around. Anyway, even though their types are not opposites, they still represent day and night, which as we all know was introduced in Gen 2. Along with representing the sky and the sea. I guess land didn't exist back then? Good thing Gen 3 fixed that. And you gotta remember that Ho-Oh was originally planned to be in Generation 1. Considering that Ho-Oh can revive the dead, yeah, I'm pretty sure it would have been a Psychic type if introduced in Generation 1. It's very interesting that both of these legendaries that are supposed to connect with each other were not made with the idea of the other. In the end, they still kind of connect either way, and that's obviously a good thing. But Lugia's lore is really not that impressive at all compared to the Fiery Phoenix. It has no canon trio in the games that's ever been made as clear as the legendary cats, and its typing is not fitting at all. So firstly, let's make it a water and flying type. And to add on to that, let's make Ho-Oh a flying and fire type instead of the reverse. Lugia's main element, after all, is the water, and Ho-Oh's is the sky. It might not seem like a big deal, but Lugia is a bird thing that is underwater that happens to fly, and Ho-Oh is a bird that happens to control fire. So knowing which type to set first is important. So now they counter each other a bit more, which is nice. One thing I've also noticed with these Pokemon is that Ho-Oh is much more magical. You know, it created the legendary cats, it can revive Pokemon, whereas Lugia is more natural. It didn't create the legendary birds, and nor do I think it should have. So I think magic and nature is also a really good thing that they could both represent. After all, they're both very important factors in the world of Pokemon. These Pokemon can also represent the theme of destruction and restoration, as you know, Ho-Oh can resurrect and Lugia can destroy, because a lot of its dex entries talk about how destructive of a Pokemon it is, and that's why it's hidden away. Which makes me wonder if Lugia may have been involved in the destruction of the Brass Tower. Think about it, huh? It's known to be a destructive Pokemon. Maybe there's something about that. In Pokemon Crystal, there's a very interesting quote in the radio tower of Goldenrod City. It says that in the past, there was once a tower just like the one in Ecruteak City, but it was old and creaky. So they replaced it with the radio tower, and during construction they dug up the bell of the old tower. Apparently, all sorts of Pokemon lived there in the past, and perhaps it's possible that the Tin Tower is connected somehow. Quick thank you to my friend Toby. I honestly had no idea that this was a quote in any game. So what if Lugia used to be on the tower in Goldenrod City? Then it moved to Ecruteak City's tower because, I don't know, it saw that it was a sign of its legacy and power and it respected that. So Lugia was like, oh hey, what if I just like perch on there or something? But then the old tower got destroyed, and to Lugia, that was a sign of disrespect. And it thought, you know what? If they're gonna destroy my old tower, I'm not gonna vibe with humans anymore. It then destroyed the Brass Tower out of anger and used its power to create storms to set the thing on fire with lightning. And then eventually, the winds and the rain put it out, and Lugia disappeared. Storms are usually all of these at once, but I'm sure that Lugia can just control them perfectly. It makes sense. In a way, Lugia then would have also contributed to making the legendary cats, although in a much more cruder way than one would imagine. And since Lugia has all this storm power going on, you could also say, well, oh, what if that connects to the legendary bird somehow? Bit of a stretch, but it could show the dangers of the weather, you know, lightning, ice, and the heat. I mean, it kind of makes sense, right? Maybe? And perhaps Lugia and the legendary birds would have been more involved with each other in the past. You know, controlling the weather and making sure that everything in nature is fine and balanced. And Ho-Oh could have been a part of that too. After all, the weather is going to impact the sky, so Ho-Oh should definitely be a part of that too. Yeah, I don't know, 5 birds working together just makes more sense to me than 1 bird working together with 3 cats. Because it's like, Ho-Oh, what are you doing? They're going to eat you, you're cats! So, a trio and 2 masters. That's never been done before, but I really dig the idea. The ocean, the sky, the weather, it's all very much connected and can't really be a thing without the other. You know, water cycle stuff. The sun turns water into vapor, vapor gets turned into clouds, clouds produce rain, which makes more water, and yeah, it just repeats itself indefinitely. Clouds also produce hail and electricity, so yeah, it all comes together. I even think that making the legendary birds officially a thing could have easily worked in Gen 2 instead of 1, considering they're barely important in Gen 1. They're just, oh, cool special bird you can catch. Plus, who's to say that these types of connections between Pokemon don't just, I don't know, change over time? Are you telling me that in 1,000 years, Ho-Oh is still going to be the master of the legendary cats? I mean, maybe they do kind of hint at them being able to reproduce. Surely things like that could change over time. But yeah, all I want is just a deeper connection between Lugia and Ho-Oh. After all, they are supposed to be counterparts, but they never really interact with each other in the games, and people only really talk about Ho-Oh and not Lugia. Like, Ho-Oh is this legendary Pokemon that has the power to resurrect others, and Lugia's just vibing, just chilling in the Whirl Islands. Look, if I was in charge of Game Freak, I would definitely give Lugia at least some extra lore. But hey, who knows, maybe in the future we will get those Let's Go Johto games, and they could expand some lore. That would be really cool. Actually, could we just have that, Game Freak? Can we just have that? Movies and spin-offs that include Lugia are very cool, but I don't think that justifies Lugia even being a legendary Pokemon, to be honest. Because again, Ho-Oh is this legendary Pokemon that resurrects others, and Lugia is just a rare Pokemon that you find somewhere in a cave. Like, I know that legendary Pokemon before Gen 3 weren't really that important, but they just feel too different. Given this weird plesiosaur bird is a fan favorite for many, many years, it's about time Game Freak added some lore to Weird Hands McBird. Seriously, why does it have hands like that? They look so human. If you had the chance to fix anything about Lugia, or really any other legendary Pokemon, what would you fix? Oh, and if you all want to see me make more of these Pokemon videos where I fix legendaries, let me know in the comment section down below. You know, algorithm. And if you liked the video, be sure to hit that like button and subscribe if you haven't already. I got lots of cool stuff in the channel and always more coming soon. Before I go, I want to give out a massive thank you to my assistant professor and lecturer patrons. Ty Burns, Michael Piccirilli, DeltaMajora, Gwen Joy, and Daelyn Knyght. Y'all are the best, and thank you for the support. And with that being said, I hope y'all have a good day, night, or morning, and as always, take care.